And we are back from our break. Thank you for being here. Bowles TV, Bowles.tv. David Bowles with you, having a wonderful time, talking about a lot of interesting, difficult topics today. And I thank you so much for being here. We're not done. Oh, we have so much to get to. I hope we get to it. We'll see. So continuing our conversation about Roe, just because it's in the news today, because it's being argued today, there's no denying that this whole issue is political now. I guess it always has been. And John Roberts, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, has a lot on his mind, I'm sure. Justice Roberts represents more than one vote among the 9. As chief, he steers the discussion of Roe v. Wade. If he's in the majority, he also assigns the opinion that will speak for the court. Further, Roberts has tried to inspire public confidence in the federal judiciary and repeatedly argued that its opinions reflect justice's neutral, impartial views rather than any political instincts. I'm not so sure about that. Polls show that public approval of the court has dropped in recent months. Notably since September 1st, when the majority allowed a Texas ban on abortions after roughly 6 weeks of pregnancy to take effect, even as litigation over that law plainly conflicts with Roe v. Wade. Roberts broke from his colleagues on the right wing in that case, dissenting as he wrote that courts should at least temporarily suspend the ban. So, who knows? And this music that's playing is just really fantastic for this topic. It's very scary. It's supposed to be quiet ambience. From Slip.Stream. I think it's a little more than that. But now we get into an interesting point about Roe that I read yesterday. This is written by Sarah Jones. It's a little blurb from her longer article, which I highly recommend in New York Magazine. And her idea was, it's not possible to be a pro-life feminist. Very interesting. It's impossible. And she came to that hard realization, and this is part of how she explains why she believes that. Because she did believe that it was possible to be pro-life and to be a feminist. And she said this: I became persuaded that my body belonged to me, that I was sovereign over it, and that nothing should make use of it without my permission. She's talking about the fetus inside of her. And if I felt this way about myself, that I should be in charge and I should decide what's inside of me, how could I deny that same power to others? Women had been and were still oppressed. Should the state force them to incubate children against their will? They could never be equal citizens. That is what the anti-abortion movement argues. The body of a fetus, even before viability, takes precedence over that of the person who bears it. There is a violence here, buried even in the most enlightened sounding rhetoric. For all the anti-abortion movement tries to sell its commitment to the well-being of women, its beliefs, when reduced to their most basic elements, are undeniably misogynistic. That's powerful stuff, and very hard to argue with. These conservatives, especially in the vaccine and mask mandate, oh, no, you don't tell me what to do with my body. I decide what goes in my body. I don't want to have a vaccine. You can't tell me what to put over my nose. No, it's my body, my decision. But when it's the other way around, and a woman wants to make a choice about her body, if a rape or a mistake was made and she wants to terminate a pregnancy, oh, no. No, not your body. The baby's body. The baby's body trumps the mother's body. Which is me, as a man, and what the hell do I know, never made any sense to me at all. But that is what's at stake with this Supreme Court decision. And if Roe is overturned, there is going to be a cleaving in America that is going to be something like we have never seen in a generation. And some people say, well, that'll be great. That'll be good for Democrats. Finally, they'll wake up and realize what the heck's going on around them. Republicans have been trying for 50 years to get this right to choose away from women. And when I was younger and involved in this conversation, my body, my choice hypocrites, Dora, absolutely. It's really fascinating to see the logical and emotional disconnect. And I guess, in college, I believe it was, made the mistake of saying I'm pro-abortion. And the women in the room very quickly corrected me and said, David, you're not pro-abortion. You're pro-choice. And I looked at them and I said, oh, I got the wording wrong. I said, but what's the difference? And they said, David, this is not about being pro-abortion. You're not for the killing of babies. You are for a woman to choose if she wants to have a baby or not have a baby. And I wasn't being difficult. I didn't know. I knew that I was in favor of a woman's right to choose an abortion, but I didn't know the politically correct term was not pro-abortion. You are pro-choice. They are pro-life. We are pro-choice. We are not pro-abortion. Okay. So I learned the lesson the hard way. Now I know better. And that whole conversation leads me around to this other conversation that I had that's sort of similar, but not directly applicable to Roe v. Wade. Oh, Dora, how about taking care of world poverty and hunger? How many children die and are abused daily? Absolutely right. They want to protect the fetus, but the second that baby is alive in the world, they don't want anything to do with it. Not my problem, your problem. You got pregnant, I didn't get pregnant. I know you were raped by your father. Not my problem now. I protected that baby and got it out of you. Now you deal with it. The state's not going to pay for that. I'm not going to pay for that with my hard-earned tax dollars. You figure it out. Now, if you're going to be pro-choice, pro-life and babies are everything, well, then you have to take care of that baby from when it's born until it's dead. That's what that has to mean. And you can't be for state-sponsored murder. You really shouldn't be pro-gun because it's all those things are anti-life. How can you execute somebody and be pro-life? Doesn't make sense. So I was having a conversation, and when I was having this conversation, I remembered back to my college days where I made the mistake of being pro-abortion instead of pro-choice. And I said, so this was an online conversation a few years ago, and we were having a conversation about religion and feminism. And this one woman started attacking me. And she was a Muslim. And she said, well, I'm a Muslim and I'm a feminist. And I said, wait a minute. And I wasn't trying to be difficult, but I was trying to be inquisitive. And she took it the wrong way, which is okay, because it's online, it's text, and you can't tell tone. But I said, how can you be a Muslim woman and be a feminist? Which is what this other woman, this Sarah Jones, is arguing, that you cannot be a feminist and be pro-life. I said, how can you be a feminist and be a Muslim? Well, she said, well, I believe in women's rights. I said, but wait a minute. The very foundations of your religion, as I understand it, as a white man from Nebraska, and please correct me if I'm wrong in my understanding, is separation of the sexes. Women cover themselves. When we go to pray together, women go in this door, men go in that door. They don't mix. When we are praying in our mosque, men are here, women are over there. Please explain to me how you can be a feminist Muslim. Well, all of that's just part of our religion, but wait a minute. But feminism is about equal opportunity, equal treatment, without any distinction between gender. Women are just as good as men in every respect. That is the credo, that is the point of feminism in America. And she said, but I am. You don't think I am, but I am. I said, do you cover your head? Yes, I do. I said, are you allowed to go in the men's entrance into the mosque when you go to pray? No, I am not. Are you allowed, if you wanted to go sit and pray with the men in your mosque? No, I am not. Why? Because it's not allowed. And I said, exactly. And she said, what do you mean? And I said, you're not equal. And that's your choice. That's your religion. That's what you believe. You cover your head. A man does not have to cover his head. A man can go in the men's door, but a woman cannot go in the men's door. That's not equal. That's not feminism. I don't think it's correct to call yourself a Muslim feminist and believe very strongly in the religion and all the things that we just said you can't do as a woman. And you cannot do these things that we talked about because you are a woman. You are being discriminated against by your requirements of your religion. And she did not see it that way. She saw herself as very forward-thinking. And I said, I understand that. I respect what you're trying to do. I just don't understand the logic of it. So that's how we left that conversation. I don't know if she won or if I won or if nobody won. I think nobody really wins that conversation. But it's interesting and I find slightly dangerous. Because you have one group of people believing one thing very strongly, and you have another group of people believing something else just as strongly. And they are different realities. Her reality is that in the confines of her religion, the restrictions of her religion, she's a free thinker. And my understanding of feminism and equality means that there is no differentiation between male or female. Everyone is thought of and treated the same, and at least an effort is made to make that equalization possible. There are not rules and demands that make it impossible to do because of rhetoric or because of something that was written a long time ago. And now that swings us right back around to Roe versus Wade. And we have the same problem. You have one group of people saying I'm a pro-life feminist, and you have the other side saying, wait a minute. If you're telling me what I can do with my body, if I have to keep my pregnancy or not keep my pregnancy, that is not feminism. That is something else. And they're going around and around and around and around and around on that. And it will never end. And John Roberts in the Supreme Court is not going to decide how that ends. They're going to decide something very narrow and very specific. And it's going to be very dangerous for America. I have a sense that John Roberts wishes that he did not have to deal with this today. I think he knows that there is no winning on this topic. And this same argument was made 30 years ago to the Supreme Court. And it was denied, it was rejected. And the state went back and said, well, we have a Trump court now. Now let's see what happens. Now let's take a look at what we can really, really do to get our way, to get these women under control, which is what it's about. Abortion doesn't control men. Abortion controls women. And my thought has always been, and I've thought about this quite a bit, that if something that is inside of you cannot sustain itself without you, then it's your decision. And some people, life is sustainable after a month of pregnancy. Well, I don't believe that's to be true. And the sign of life, the indicator of life in modern medicine, has always been the ability to sustain a breath. And if a fetus cannot breathe on its own outside of the mother's body, then that is not a viable life. Now we've expanded that with fetal heartbeats and vaginal probes and brain activity. Can you breathe on your own? And again, going around the circle, in this pandemic we're in, the sign of life, if you're infected with COVID-19, is your ability to breathe. Can you breathe without the help of a ventilator? Do you have to be flipped on your stomach so you can take a breath? And I'm not saying this to be smart, but there's a little bit of a relevance there, a little bit of a congruity of ideas between the fetus who cannot breathe outside of the mother and the anti-vaccine person who will not take a shot to feel better about their body and who suddenly cannot take a breath on their own without the assistance of the state, without the assistance of outside help. So we live in a complicated world, and we always have. And what's missing in America today that we had in the 70s was the calm middle. You've always had extremists on the right. You've always had extremist radicals on the left. And we've usually always had a great big group of people in the middle who could see both sides and who said, "Leave me alone, I'm watching football." Now, how do we get back to that? Back to let's just split the baby. The old saying says. Do a little bit of yours, a little bit of yours, and let's have a potato chip. We've lost that meandering middle, don't bother me with all this stuff. I just want to get up, go to work, come home, play with my kids, watch television. That is the life that I want. I don't want to be upset every day. I don't want to worry about a pandemic. I don't want to hear about women's rights. I don't want to hear about stealing elections. I want to be left alone so I can enjoy the few days that I have on this earth. And I think a lot of people thought that when they voted for Joe Biden, that was kind of going to happen, that everything would kind of calm down on the edges and the middle could go back to some quiet time. And I believe Joe Biden has tried to do that, but it's really impossible in this current state we're in, where people are saying that elections are stolen and we need more guns and let's go shoot people and let's take their identities offline because Twitter is on the side of the shooter and not on the side of the victim. Theoretically, if you missed our first conversation about Twitter and privacy in the first hour of this live stream. So it's been a wonderful day. I hope we can find ourselves in the middle together, respect each other, what I call the passionate mind and the intellectual heart, where you can hold two different and divergent ideas in your mind at the same time and find value in each of them. The passionate mind, the intellectual heart. Not everybody is good and bad. Not everybody is drawn in just stark black and dark white. There has to be a middle ground. There has to be a way to get along so we don't kill each other in the process of trying to live our lives. And that's what this live stream is about. We talk about moral equity And we talk about the goodness of your soul. And we hope not too much of it is based in rhetoric or in lies or in some kind of diversion. We hope we're finding the truth somewhere in all of this. And perhaps we have, and perhaps we haven't, and maybe we will or we won't. But it's the process of trying every day.